Let's get to it. Hi, I'm Casey Lambert, and welcome to 15-Minute Marketing, a podcast that bucks the traditional trends of B2B and B2C marketing and replaces them with H2H, or human to human, all in 15 minutes or less. Let's get to it. Today, we're talking about the 5 questions you should be asking yourself before starting a brand campaign. So you might ask yourself, well, what's the difference between a brand campaign and a marketing campaign? As a marketing campaign would traditionally focus on driving sales or revenue to your place, a brand campaign specifically is for driving awareness in the public for your brand and what it does. So with that said, let's get right into it because we got a lot to cover. The first question you probably should ask yourself before you begin on a brand campaign is, do you know your target audience? Again, differences between brand and marketing here. Typically we would call that a target market in the marketing campaign world. Those are people that you're specifically looking to sell to. But in a brand campaign, it's something that you would call your target audience. Those are people that you want to reach out to in a very top of funnel way. So first thing you might want to consider is who they are as a person or as a human. There's a lot that goes into that. But when I'm talking specifically about that, it's what are their goals in life? What kind of things are they into? What do they value? That's really what they are as a human, and you can really speak to that when you're looking to go to your target audience. Secondly, what social channels do they hang out at? Are they of the people who like to scroll Reels or TikToks, or are they spending more time on LinkedIn or Twitter? That's something you really need to ask yourself in this iteration. Also, what are their drives and what are their motivations? What are they trying to get out of life? Where are they trying to go? What does their future look like in the next 5 to 10 years? You know, maybe they're a lower level tech employee at a cybersecurity company, for example, and their ambitions is to become a CTO, a chief technical officer, or a CISO, chief security officer. You know, those are things to consider when you're looking at who your target audience is. And that bodes kind of into where are they at in their life journey. We talk in marketing a lot about somebody's buyer's journey. You're going to look a little bit further into that in a more human element and figure out what their personal journey is as well. So I've always loved the quote, if you target everyone, you target no one. So first question definitely needs to be, do you know your target audience? Second question, and we oftentimes advise people on this a lot. Do you have enough time to dedicate to actually taking a brand campaign to where it needs to be? Because there is a lot in the social media age, in the expanded internet age, that is start and stop. Or you might have a good idea, you'll work on it for a week, and then you'll just put it down because you get busy doing other things. A proper brand campaign would require anywhere between 8 and 10 hours of work per week to maintain what you need to maintain. And that doesn't even go to speak to interactions or reacting to comments or chatting with people. Obviously, you see larger brands, for example, like Wendy's or KFC, who have whole teams that work with this interaction. You're more than likely just a smaller brand or working for a smaller brand at this time that you probably don't have time to dedicate to that, or you got to be very careful about how you manage it. Second portion of this, is it you who's going to be handling this? Or is it somebody on your team? Is it maybe a different department in your organization? Do you have someone on the team that you can delegate these tasks to in a trustworthy manner? Or can you convey what you're looking to get through your brand to this person in order to get there? Third question, very important one here. What channels are you tackling? Now, we hear channels a lot used in the marketing word. It's a common nomenclature, but specifically, usually it's referring to digital channels. Now, I want you to kind of open up your minds here and think about this. Prior to the internet, and I'm an elder millennial, so I know things prior to the internet, there were also very physical ways of brand recognition. We still use a lot of them today, as a matter of fact. Billboards, flyers or handouts. Actually, one of our clients here does a very developed and well-received postcard campaign, and they are in the real estate realm, so that works out very well. Merchandise is a big thing, and you see not just apparel brands succeeding at this, but brands in many different verticals that have the ability to produce merch that is wanted and likable and desired after, that really helps get the name out for the brand. And one of my favorites, I come from an event production background, and you can really make a splash in the events channel if you know what you're doing and if it's something that you have the capacity to tackle. Of course, there's also the digital channels, meta properties, so like Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn is a common one for tech and for business. TikTok and YouTube, which are, of course, more entertainment-based, but important if you're trying to develop a brand. One of my favorite brands, and they really knock it out of the park with TikTok, is Pop Shot. They're actually a microized basketball arcade game. And the way they do their culture videos in TikTok makes the brand not just recognizable, but also something very easy and very fun to follow, all because they get it, Maybe TikTok's not even right for your particular business, for your particular brand. Maybe it's more along the lines of LinkedIn or Twitter. Again, I come from the tech world, and we had no presence on TikTok, virtually no presence on YouTube, pretty much no presence on Facebook, and zero Instagram. Where we really found legs in terms of brand recognition was on our Twitter and on our LinkedIn, specifically because that's where our target audience was. So that's something to consider as you're going along in deciding, A, should I start a brand campaign? And B, how should I go about planning this? The fourth question that I'd like you to take into consideration is, are you capable of handling this brand campaign in-house? Now, I know many of us are in the small business spectrum, or maybe we're solopreneurs out there, but this bears consideration because oftentimes when we are in that much of a small market, we have to wear multiple hats, which means our time is being pulled in multiple different directions. So sometimes it's worth spending the extra little bit to look third party. So, of course, ask yourself, does my organization have the time and the resources to spend on this? And if not, where can I look to for help? One of the more common ways to go about this is freelancers. And in influence culture these days, you actually see a lot of freelancers who are capable of doing brand promotion or brand development. And I might be biased here, but brand firms, such as our own AZEE, who can work through the full development phase and create the content that you need, are oftentimes more cost effective than spending your 40 hours a month on building the brand or following through with the brand campaign. So that's definitely something to consider right there. The fifth question, and I would arguably say the most important, if you know me, you know I'm a real big statistics guy, is what are your measurables? Specifically, what are you going to use to determine your brand campaign's success? And more importantly, your brand's kind of public scorecard. Who's talking about us? Where are they finding us? Things of that sort. So first, I'd just like to say, and I think this is pretty commonly known by this point, but some of our smaller marketers might not know this, and I know for a fact that some business owners don't understand this, but it's worth noting that revenue is very rarely a good measure of brand recognition. When we were talking about it a few minutes ago, we mentioned that brand campaigns and marketing campaigns, although they can be similar, are vastly different, especially in the goals attained by both. So just to reiterate, marketing campaigns are typically geared towards driving sales and revenue, as where brand campaigns are typically driven towards recognition and trust. So if you think about it, revenue isn't exactly the best measure of that. You're going to want to look at things like new follower rates if you're on social channels, interactions and engagement rates on social channels, on emails, on any of your physical events, your billboards, things like that are important. Something that I like to call brand fanhood, that's the amount of shares that you're getting. That's the amount of tags that you're getting. That's the amount of mentions that you're getting. People are becoming fans of your brand because they trust you. That is a very high-ranking measurable. And it really goes into, are people talking about your brand, and does it come up to the front of your mind when thinking about something? So, for example, here at AZEE, we know we have a very strong brand because our logo is very recognizable, but in our general area in mid-Michigan, within the counties, people associate AZEE with brand, and that's what we're really, really going for. Along those same lines, another really good measurable is, where does your brand rank in SEO or search engine optimization? Google has always been the gold standard and will continue, at least for the very near future, to be the gold standard in checking on your brand's recognizability. If you don't, or you haven't set up your G4 suite, that gives you access to the most well-developed analytics that you can possibly find on the market relative to your web and social. So I encourage you guys to do that and really think about your G4 rankings when you're looking at, how do I determine what my measurables are for my brand campaign. So those have been the 5 questions that you should ask yourself before starting a brand campaign or really overtaking it. So now we move on to my favorite part of the show, the Do It Now Challenge. If this is your first episode, we end every episode of 15-Minute Marketing by presenting you with a Do It Now challenge. This is something that you can take and immediately apply to your own marketing work. So today's Do It Now challenge is to identify your brand audience. If you're following along, that was question number 1. So actually think about this in deep terms. I want you to put a persona to this person, not just say females between 21 and 35. I want you to figure out who these people are, how they view the world, where they hang out social media wise, what matters to them, and almost more importantly, how your brand can help them. By doing this, you'll connect your audience and potential customers to the more humanized side of your brand. Not only that, but you and your team will be able to start producing content specifically for that audience, and that'll make them true fans of yours for years to come. Then it's much easier to roll out a marketing campaign and drive them towards sales or action. So I want you to do this, do it now, and let me know in the let me know in the comments, because we really love following those stories. It's quite literally what we do here at AZEE. So with that said, I want to thank you for taking 15 minutes to hang out with me. And just remind you that if you've got a topic you want me to cover, please go ahead and drop me an email. It's casey@azeebiz.com, or just leave a comment here. Part of being human with one another is having a two-way dialogue, and this podcast could never exist without you fueling it. So truly, thank you. And remember that at the root of B2B and B2C is always H to H. We'll see you next time. Let's get to it.